Let's get to it. Hi, I'm Casey Lampert, and welcome to 15-Minute Marketing, a podcast that bucks the trends of B2B and B2C marketing and replaces them with H2H or human to human. Today, I'm joined by the brand daddy himself, the creator.
Brand daddy. I love it.
That's right, the creator of AZEE Business Solutions, Mr. Tony Nash.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, man. I love it. I love listening to your podcast so far. I think it's really, really good stuff. If you haven't checked it out, you got to listen. This guy knows what he's talking about.
Awesome. And fitting that Tony is on today because we're actually talking about brand stewardship today.
Yeah.
So without
one of
further
my favorite
ado,
topics.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's get to it.
I got to say, before you go into it, I love, if you haven't caught it, now Casey and I are like 80s nostalgic, like pop culture buffs. To turn around the backwards hat, maybe you're thinking of it already, but it's Lincoln Hawks over the top. He flips the switch. I thought about wearing my hat today so I could, flip the hat with you, but I'll let that be your thing, you and Lincoln Hawks, a.k.a. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Next time you're on the podcast,
One of my favorite movies.
we'll bring you a hat.
Over the top. Okay.
I happen to know where you can get an AZEE baseball
You know where we
cap.
can get hats?
I do.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to that reference.
Yes, sir.
And I love the brand daddy. I've never been called that before, but I think I'm going to roll with that one.
I think it'll stick. All right, so first thing, Tony, since you're kind of an expert on this and brand identity is what we specialize in at AZEE, why don't we just we tell the people out there, why is brand identity important?
Well, I mean, that's a big question, and I think having a good understanding of why a brand is important, I think really comes from understanding what branding really is. Of course, that is what we try to do here every day at AZEE with the companies we partner with. We try to help them really understand, what is your brand? What does your brand represent? What does it stand for? What does it want to do? Who's your target audience? And then building something around that is both recognizable, consistent, and gives a message to your customers and your potential customers. I wrote this down here. Your brand is really derived from who you are, so who you actually are today, who you want to be. We're all going somewhere, and who people perceive you to be. So really, it's derived from a combination of those things. You got to think about if you're in the process of developing a brand, or maybe you have a business that doesn't really have any kind of brand identity or brand consistency. You really got to think of, okay, who are we today? What services are we offering? Do we do it well? What products are we offering? Are they good products? Are we known for quality? Are we known for fast turnaround? Are we known for customer service? Are we known for being cool, hip, cutting edge? Whatever it is, you got to understand that. Like, what do you want to be known for? So who you are today, and then who do you want to be? Okay, and then how do the customers perceive you? You take those three things and you start to look at, okay, this is how we begin to derive what our brand is and what it's going to represent, so that when somebody sees your brand mark or your logo, it's what they know what to expect. When somebody sees the golden arches, they know when they walk in there what to expect, right? Bad food, unhealthy, but quick, fast, at a low price.
Hey. Don't fire a potential customer.
Sorry, McDonald's. But they know what they're getting when they go in. They have an expectation that's derived from having a good brand.
Well, it's perfect that you say that because to me, working in the sales and marketing side of our business, and if you didn't know, I'm our sales and marketing director here.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks for this guy bringing me in on that. But it's exactly what you're talking about. It's your public personification. It's your perception that the public has about you, which is, of course, cultivated by how you present yourself to the public. Mm-hmm. That starts to create a trust and a loyalty, and that's how brands really start to expand, and that's how you see a logo and immediately think
it means something.
Of something.
Well, I think it's important, too, that you listen to your customers, because many times what you perceive your brand to be and what your customers perceive your brand to be is different. That's why I say it's a combination of who you are, who you want to be, and who your customers perceive you to be, because you might have this idea for what you want your brand to be, but if you're not executing it well, your brand is something else. Mm-hmm. A brand is created organically. So if you're not involved in influencing where the brand goes and how it's built, your customers will define what your brand is, which could be a really good thing or a really bad thing.
That's why they call him the brand daddy, folks. So just kind of to help people along with this, what are some brands that you've seen out there in the world or even locally to us a little bit that you feel are just absolutely nailing it in terms of being stewards of their own brand?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come back to Foster Coffee because I think they do an exceptional job. But I'm going to talk about a national brand that anybody listening would know, actually an international brand, that is Starbucks Coffee. And as much as I hate to say, I'm holding my Foster, I prefer Foster to Starbucks, by the way. But Starbucks has done an incredible job of building a brand. They made it cool to hold a cup of coffee in your hand. People who would never drink coffee because it's too strong, it's too bitter, it's whatever, it's not their thing. They're not adult enough yet. You got 14 and 15-year-old kids wanting to hold a Starbucks cup in there. They'll buy a Starbucks cup, and then for the next week, they'll fill it with their favorite drink so that they're walking around, because it says something, right? Holding Starbucks in your hand says something about you have fine taste. You can afford a $7 cup of coffee. It's cool, and it's hip. And honestly, I would say, personally, as somebody who considers himself a coffee connoisseur, their coffee is, as the kids would say, mid. It's not great, but the branding is fantastic. And so everybody goes to Starbucks. The environment is cool. The look of the brand is cool. And they've given you an option, a variety of beverages that have a little bit of coffee in them. It's really more of a milkshake with a splash of coffee, so that the palate that doesn't like coffee can do it. And so I think they've done a great job of really building something that the product itself is okay, but the brand is awesome. And so locally here, I think Foster has done a very similar thing. Now, they actually have great coffee as well, but their branding
would you say their coffee is bussin'?
It's bussin', as the kids would also say. But I would say, it's cool in our community to carry around a cup of Foster. Like, their branding is impeccable. Every picture you see, if I can see a picture on social media that doesn't even have coffee in it, but if I can tell, oh, that's Foster. Even their photos are consistent in the coloring and the style. Their apparel, their merch is excellent. Their coffee is good. So they've done an exceptional job of building a brand that is really representing what they want it to be, and the community loves it. So
the brand is bussin', not just the coffee.
It's a brand and coffee both bussin'.
It's ironic. I was talking to Nick yesterday. If you don't know, Nick Pydek owns Foster. He's one of the men in charge there. But we were actually talking about that in how he uses people to go along with the brand.
Yeah.
And the brand tagline, if you didn't know this as well, is fostering community through coffee.
Yeah.
So it's all consistent.
And they've done that well.
Right.
They've done that. That's where people go to meet.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
You'll find me there a couple mornings a week. If you're listening local in Owasso, Michigan, you'll find me there a couple times a week. But kind of to follow your thing, there's a couple of brands that I think both, I'm going to present one that's international and one that's local. Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't know what Mercedes-Benz is, you might be living under a rock a little bit. Mercedes-Benz has literally been around since the 1920s. And that three-pronged logo is iconic. Well, the three-pronged logo represents the merger of Benz, Daimler, and Cie, if I pronounce that right, CIE.
No one's going to check you.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah. But so that is representative of not just the car company, but of the luxury of the cars. They consistently do it all throughout the world. And this goes from, their native European companies on over to, their cars that were in America or their cars that are in Japan. All of that is really, really consistent. And when you think of Mercedes-Benz, you think of luxury. One of the brands we represent locally, actually here, Josh's Frogs, does a very good job with brand consistency.
Yes, they do.
And, maybe we're a little bit closer to it than you guys, but if you haven't checked out Josh's Frogs, I encourage you to, because the logo, the video messaging, the graphics, the web page,
The merch, the labels, it's all.
and that's only part of it, because the human element starts to root itself in here. And when you hear people who've purchased from Josh's Frogs, they all say the same thing. When you hear people who are working at Josh's Frogs, they all consistently say the same things. So when it comes to championing your brand among the public perception, I think Josh's Frogs nails it so much better than so many other people.
Well, and absolutely. And I think going back to Mercedes, I think understanding your brand helps you even determine what you can charge, what your price point is going to be. The average Joe can't afford a brand new Mercedes. Maybe a used one that's 20 years old, and you get it on the, on the used lot. But they understand, like, we're appealing to people that have money and status, and they know that. So they're not trying to just bring in mass customers. They're branding to a very specific demographic. And so understanding your brand, if your brand, it will help you determine who your brand is for and who it's to, and then how to properly market to the right customers, how to price your products and services, knowing who you're going after. You can't compare your brand to somebody else's, maybe even though you have similar services, because you have to also understand the market that you're in and the demographic you're serving. So understanding what your brand is and where it's trying to go is crucial in today's marketplace.
So with that said, and we have a little bit of time to talk about this. So I want to talk about this because a lot of our audience out here might be representing small business or medium-sized business and not have the giant departments that some of these places have.
Sure.
So, the title of the episode is, how do we become better brand stewards within our company? And, just knowing the knowledge that I have, knowing the knowledge that I've gained from working here and with my 16 years in marketing, I think I've knocked it down to a couple of different things. So feel free to chime in when you want.
Sure.
We got, about 3 minutes left.
Awesome.
But maintain consistency. We talked about this.
100%.
It's key when maintaining and building a strong brand. That's why a lot of our customers that we bring in here at AZEE, we like to tell them, you need a brand guide. A brand guide has all the same typography, the same colors, the same taglines, different variations
Image style.
of logos.
Absolutely. Yep.
All of it's huge. Another one is, and we talked about this, public perception, monitoring your reputation. That's both online.
Yep.
There's review sites, Google,
Facebook, Yelp, Google, all of them. Yeah.
Gartner peer reviews if you're in the tech world. Those things are huge, as well as just what people are saying on the streets.
Yep.
And a lot of that has to do with your own internal branding with the wonderful employees that you have around your own office.
Well, and I would say if you don't listen to your customers, not just the ones that are in your store that you have a chance to talk to, if you disregard those reviews, even the bad ones, it's only going to hurt your brand. You have to listen to those, hear what your customers are saying.
Oh yeah, in addition to that, also there's brand advocacy. Yeah. So people will talk about your company, people will talk about your brand in the general public. But what you can do as an advocate is make sure they're saying what you want them to say about you. And there's a lot of different ways to go about doing
100%,
that.
100%.
Yeah. And also this one's huge. Not just for us, but in a changing digital landscape here in 2023, you have to be constantly improving. Just because you have a logo that is 30 years old and screams tradition doesn't mean that you can't take that logo and change it and update it. KFC is a classic example of doing this.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's important. Having a fresh website that changes with the appeal visually of what the world is. Or one of my
as information changes, keeping it updated.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that's base level stuff. Like you should be doing that anyway. But it really bodes well for companies that are constantly changing and improving their brand. Again, paying homage to the actual brand, using the same colors, the same typography, the same imagery, the same messaging, but figuring out fresh and new ways to do it. I think the brands that do that best are the ones that succeed.
Absolutely.
So, are you ready for the Do It Now challenge?
I'd love to hear it.
Are you ready to do it now?
Do it now, hurry.
All right. So, if this is your first episode, bear with us on this, but every episode we end it with a Do It Now challenge. So, this is designed to be something that you can take with you and immediately apply to your own marketing strategies. So, today's Do It Now challenge, Tony, brand daddy, if you will, is to think of one way that you can evolve and improve your brand to carry it into 2023 and beyond. We just mentioned a few different ways to do it. Updated imagery, updated logos, a fresh new look on the web, maybe a feedback campaign. Those sort of things are what we're looking for you to do.
Yeah.
So by doing that, you're going to connect your audience, your potential customers and potential partners to your brand and that's how you humanize things.
Absolutely. Well, and I would say we've just really touched on the surface today. We could talk about this for a long time. But if you want to know more about branding and learn more about what it means to really steward your brand and do it even if you have to on a budget, because there's ways to do it without breaking the bank, come to our marketing meetup. What's the next one? April?
Yep. So we have them every third Tuesday of the month. So we post it on Facebook, we post it on our Instagram, on LinkedIn, all of the different channels. So feel free to come.
April 20th. Or Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or Thursday?
Yeah, it's April 18th,
April
but this
18th.
episode's going to air after that.
Okay, so you missed it. But yes, come anyways.
Yes. So our
Get in your DeLorean and come back.
Yeah, our marketing meetups are great. Also, feel free to visit any of our socials. We're very big on education and resource building. So, we're not going to sell you anything immediately. But feel free to visit us there or at azee.co. Those are great places. And just do your research, folks. Yep. I trust you're going to do your research because this is very important stuff in today's landscape. Let us know in the comments. We always love to follow evolving brands out there that are doing really well. So that's our episode. So
thanks for having me on, man. This was awesome.
Hey, thank you, Tony. On behalf of myself and Tony, thanks for taking 15 minutes to hang out with us. If you've got a topic out there that you want us to discuss, feel free to drop it. Again, rate in the comments and we'll cover it for you. But part of being human is having a two-way dialogue, and this podcast would never exist without people such as yourself. So truly, thank you. And remember that at the root of B2B and B2C will always be human to human.
A to Z.
That's right. See you guys next time.
See you later.
Let's get to it.